The Haunting of Willow Creek. In the quiet countryside of Vermont, there stood a place that locals only spoke of in whispers, the Willow Creek Manor. It was an old, sprawling Victorian house, hidden behind a curtain of weeping willows and overgrown ivy, its windows dark and its walls scarred by time. For decades, no one had lived there, though every so often, someone would wander close enough to swear they'd seen a flicker of light in the upstairs window, or heard the faint sound of piano music drifting through the trees at night. Most dismissed it as imagination, but not everyone could forget what they'd seen. In 1979, a young couple, Thomas and Evelyn Harper, moved into the countryside, searching for a peaceful place to start a new life. Thomas was a school teacher from Boston, and Evelyn a painter who longed for solitude and inspiration. They were newly married and full of hope, the kind of people who believed that love could fix anything. When they saw Willow Creek Manor for sale at a shockingly low price, they thought they'd found a dream, an old house with character, large windows, and a lake view that shimmered like glass in the morning light. "It just needs a little love," Evelyn had said, smiling as the wind rustled through the trees. The townspeople warned them, of course. The old caretaker at the general store shook his head slowly when Thomas mentioned the address. "You don't want that place. The last folks who lived there didn't last the winter." When Thomas laughed it off, the man just sighed. "There's something in those walls, son. Some things don't like to be disturbed." Thomas brushed it aside, thinking it was just local superstition. But Evelyn felt an uneasy chill even as she smiled and held her husband's hand tighter. The couple moved in mid-October, just as the leaves turned gold and crimson. At first, the house seemed peaceful, almost too quiet. Evelyn set up her studio in the sunroom overlooking the lake, where she spent her days painting the autumn light. Thomas worked on repairing the old staircase and patching the roof, but it didn't take long for strange things to begin. It started small, a door creaking open by itself, a whispering sound in the hallway late at night, the faint echo of footsteps upstairs when no one was there. Thomas blamed it on drafts, on the age of the house, but Evelyn knew something was wrong. One evening while painting, she saw a woman's reflection behind her in the window, pale, with dark, hollow eyes. Yet when she turned around, the room was empty. Her brush fell from her hand, and she sat frozen, her heart pounding so loud she could barely breathe. When she told Thomas, he tried to comfort her, saying, "It's just the light playing tricks on you." But the next morning, they both heard it, faint piano music coming from upstairs. The melody was hauntingly beautiful, soft and slow, like a lullaby. "It must be a neighbor," Thomas said, though there were no neighbors for miles. The sound stopped abruptly when he climbed the stairs to investigate. The piano in the attic, covered in dust and cobwebs, hadn't been touched in years. Days turned to weeks, and the house grew colder. Even as the fires burned bright, Evelyn began waking up at 3:15 every night, hearing whispers in the hall. Sometimes she'd find her paintings moved or turned toward the wall. One morning she found a single wet footprint by the bedroom door, though neither of them had gone outside. When she mentioned it to Thomas, he grew quiet. That night he admitted something he'd been hiding. He too had heard a woman's voice calling his name from the upstairs landing. She said she missed me," he whispered, trembling. "But I swear, Evie, it wasn't your voice." They decided to bring in a local historian named Margaret Duval, who had studied the legends of the area. Margaret was an older woman with kind eyes and a calm, steady voice. She arrived one afternoon carrying an old leather-bound book. As she walked through the house, she paused near the grand staircase and frowned. "This house belonged to the Alden family," built in 1863. The lady of the house, Clara Alden, was a pianist. She and her husband had one daughter, Amelia. But during the winter of 1871, a fire broke out here. Clara died trying to save her daughter. Evelyn shuddered. Did she survive? Margaret shook her head slowly. No one really knows. They never found her body. Some say she drowned trying to escape across the frozen lake. After Margaret left, the house felt different, heavier, as though the air itself had remembered. That night, the temperature dropped suddenly, and the old grandfather clock in the hallway began to chime, though it hadn't worked in years. Evelyn woke to the sound of soft crying. She followed it to the attic, candle in hand. The piano was open now, though neither of them had touched it. A single note rang out, then another, as if invisible fingers were pressing the keys. When she whispered, "Who's there?" the crying stopped, and in the silence that followed, she heard a small, trembling voice. "Mama?" The candle flickered out. The next morning, Thomas found her sitting in the attic, pale and silent, staring at the piano. "She was there," Tom whispered, "the little girl." He tried to take her downstairs, but she resisted, clutching the piano lid. "She's lost, Tom. She's still here." Over the next few days, Evelyn became obsessed. She started painting the little girl, always the same image: long dark hair, white nightgown, wide eyes filled with sorrow. Each painting was more vivid than the last, almost lifelike. Thomas begged her to stop, but she couldn't. "I can feel her," she said. "She's trying to tell me something." The final painting she made showed the girl standing by the frozen lake, her reflection in the ice distorted and red, like blood. That night, during another snowstorm, Evelyn disappeared. Thomas searched every room, calling her name, but the only sound was the wind howling through the chimneys. Then he saw the back door open, snow blowing in. He ran outside, following her footprints toward the lake. "Evelyn!" he shouted, his voice breaking. Halfway across the frozen water, he saw her kneeling by a hole in the ice, her hands pressed against it. When he reached her, she turned to him, eyes blank with terror. "She's down there," she whispered. "She's waiting." The ice cracked beneath them with a sound like thunder. By morning, the snow had covered everything. When the townspeople came looking, they found Thomas's coat near the edge of the lake and Evelyn's scarf tangled in the reeds. Their bodies were never found. Years passed, and the house fell silent once more, until one spring morning a new family arrived, unaware of its past. They cleaned the rooms, painted the walls, and laughed in the garden, believing they could make the place their home again. But on their second night, as they sat by the fire, the youngest child, a little girl, asked her mother, "Who's the lady upstairs, the one who keeps crying by the piano?" Her mother froze. "There's no one upstairs, sweetheart." But when she went to check, she found the old attic door standing open, the piano lid lifted, and on the windowsill, a single wet footprint. They left the next morning. To this day, locals say that on winter nights, when the wind moves through the willows and the lake freezes over, you can still hear the faint notes of a piano drifting across the water. Some say it's Clara Alden, still searching for her lost daughter. Others whisper that Evelyn's spirit remains, forever painting in the sunroom, trying to bring peace to the girl in white. And if you ever drive past Willow Creek Manor on a snowy night, you might see a flicker of light in the upstairs window, like someone waiting for you to come inside. But if you hear the piano start to play, don't stop, don't listen, just keep driving.